I'm Jessica Galloway, and I am wanting to be a elementary school teacher because I enjoy interacting with children very much. I love the fact that you can teach them things and they just absorb it like little sponges, and that look on their face when they get something is I pretty much am excited about that, and I hope to eventually teach maybe a lower grade. I was thinking kindergarten or first when I first started these classes, but I'm leaning more towards maybe second or third now. Um, and I chose a teacher to interview for this assignment named Mrs. Walker. She teaches sixth grade at Loy Elementary, and I picked her sort of last minute because my original choice was not feeling too hot that the day that I did the interview. And she was a first grade teacher that I observed in another class who I was really fond of. Um, and I would definitely say that she would have been a veteran, if not kahuna, as far as I could tell. But this teacher that I picked, Mrs. Walker, is the one that I had subbed for on my second subbing day ever, and I figured so interviewing her would be neat because I experienced her outside of her class, or well, I experienced her class without her instruction, so some insight on that would be a very interesting perspective for me. The first section is the teaching experiences, and I asked her to review for us her experiences, such as levels, subjects taught, years, and location. And first question out of her mouth was ask if that included student teaching. Uh, and I said, yeah, sure, let's go ahead. We included student teaching. That was 1 year in Washington. She taught third grade. Her second year was in a private school in Boise, Idaho, teaching seventh and eighth English, literature, and religion. And this is her third year teaching, so second year actually employed. Um, and she's teaching sixth grade. And I asked her why she moved to Great Falls, and it's because her husband got a job here. So my next question after that, of course, was how well was your college or university prepared you for your field of teaching? She laughed as I was reading this one, which was pretty entertaining. She said she got her master's through the University of Phoenix Online, and said that with her undergrad too, she thought that it gave her the foundation and the background knowledge, but they can't really prepare you for the actual teaching. It's really about the hands-on interaction with the students that prepares you. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The laugh was my favorite part, and I said, "Yeah, I'm feeling that with my online classes too." Uh, Next part is instructional skills, and my first question I picked for that was, "What would you do if 50% of a class did poorly on a test?" First thing out of her mouth on this one was, "Wow." And so she said she'd look at which ones they missed to see, looking for common mistakes on the same sort of questions, and maybe revisit those concepts. And if it was all scattered, she would try to incorporate reinforcements and all of it within the next lessons. And I quote, she says, "I mean, we can't redo the whole thing because we can't lose all that time, but it, as in the reinforcements, pinpoints some certain concepts that will help them for the next unit to move on." So I thought that was pretty good. Um, so my next question was, it seems like there's never enough time to cover the curriculum or to get children to master content and skills. What would you comment on that? And I had brought up that, you know, being a sub was I felt that I felt that pressure, and she said she brought up the this intervention time that they do, um, where they've been doing grouping in mathematics to prepare them to get down all the specific skills they'll need to move on. And it gives them more individualized attention and really helps them because everyone in that group is at the same level. And it's called Response to Intervention. We had a sub-seminar on it, and I said that understanding how that grouping and additional attention was being addressed within the district was really cool, uh, because before I was like, well, why is everybody moving around and shuffling classes? Like I didn't know what was going on, but it was because of this response to intervention program that was really cool. So she's in on that. Then we'll move on to technology skills. I asked her what activities has technology replaced, if any, and she brought up that they have daily computer lessons that are geared at the students' levels, and it replaces a lot of paper and pencil work for both them and her. And as a teacher, she enjoys the technology in each of the classrooms in this district. Gives them the ability to play videos, look stuff up, and show the whole class something, and she loves that. And I definitely can agree with her on that. Whenever I sub, I'm like, ooh, what's this do? I got to play with a smart board, which they had in the library for the first time ever, and that was pretty exciting. I've never done that. It's like a giant, graphics tablet, but you could see it all. So, and I asked her what her computer skills were and what software she's used, and she said she grew up using computer skills, so she's well versed in the works, the office, the internet. She said that she's even touched on Photoshop and video editing because of her undergrad was in communication. And she's also familiar with both the Mac operating system and Windows operating system. The next section is planning skills, and I asked her if she prefers to do long-term or short-term plans and how she plans for the instruction. And she told me she likes both, long-term to be aware of where they're going, and short-term for how they're going to get there and learn those things that they need to learn. She says she takes into consideration of both how they've been doing and where they need to be when planning for the instruction. And this is a guy I had brought up how having both classes in the grade level on the same section, they're literally on the same page some days. I brought up how that works for her, and she said that she really likes the cooperative teaching between the two classes. This gives her somebody to back up with. Um, then I asked her how she feels when she does not meet a deadline, and what does she do when students do not meet their deadlines. And I had mentioned that as a sub, I definitely felt this. She said that it's always a bummer, and I quote, "I mean, you can only do so much. So if we don't meet the deadlines, it's for whatever reason. We just pick it up the next day, and it's just the way it goes." And I said, I come in one day as a sub and I do my thing and feel like, oh my gosh, what if I don't get it all done? Are they gonna hate me? And she replied to me. She said, "Don't worry, you can't mess them up too much in a day." So that was comforting for me. The next section is classroom discipline and management. So I asked a few extra questions in this section because she had admitted to me that she has a bad and loud class, both in person and on paper. So when I subbed, she said, "Sorry, they suck," and in person, she said, "Yeah, they're rotten." And so I was pretty interested on these answers. So I asked her, "What is the most challenging discipline problem you've encountered, and how did you handle it?" And she says, "Just the one obnoxious person that no matter what you do for discipline and consequences, it just never stops. They're disruptive, constant, everything." She said that's the most frustrating to come together with other staff members and ask, what can we do? Because, you've given up all hope. Like, I don't know where to go with this. So. And I asked, what techniques do you use to increase the probability that students will behave appropriately? And she said that the kids are held accountable, and that's the biggest thing. And so we moved on into, what is your attitude towards individual and total class punishment? And she said that she uses both, but she prefers individual. But for example, when a sub comes in and she hears they weren't good, it's hard to be like, you stay in and you stay in and you too. So the whole class really is more appropriate in that situation. So she really uses both. Then I liked this question. I said, describe a situation in your last job where you felt pressure, and how did you handle it? And given that her last job was a private school that she didn't like too much, she said they had to keep attendance up and please the parents, and whether or not that goes along with her ethics. And I asked for an example, and she said a student didn't meet their deadline, so even though they had a month, the parents are upset and wanted to pull her out because they didn't like her decision. But the administration, of course, needs her to be paying tuition, and she just has to deal with it. So that's sort of, I told her that I definitely felt that. I don't think that I don't think that I could handle that either. Knowledge of subject. In which curriculum area do you feel particularly strong? She said language, given that she taught it before and her background is in communications. And I asked her how she stays current in the field. She says the weekly meetings, that the district is really good on meetings and everybody powwowing together and exchanging ideas. She does internet research to keep abreast on new things, and also using the internet and both educational publications. Um, as for relationships with her colleagues, parents, and students, I asked her. I asked her a couple of these because I wanted to answer from each of them, colleagues, parents, and students. So I asked her about students. I said, "How would your students describe you as a teacher?" She said she gives a lot of homework, and they've had to work hard, and she has high expectations, and that they know that. So and I don't know. I told her that I didn't know if that would be the first thing out of their mouth. I think they like her as a teacher, yeah, given that I subbed. But I don't know if they would complain about homework first thing. But you know, I guess that's the impression she gets. Um, and I asked, how do you let parents know the progress of their child? And she said that Power School is a really cool thing because they can literally get on and check their grades every day. And she uses email and phone calls as well as parent meetings, which was really cool because she was getting ready to do that. I sort of hopped in right before, and I asked her how often meetings like that happened, and she said maybe once a month with different students depending on their needs and parent concerns. So I mean, it's not like every week she's got a meeting, just a spread out thing, not as hardcore and all the time. And on this, I asked her, what would you do if your principal made a decision that you did not like? And I'm going to quote her on this. Probably don't really have a choice. I mean, you can always talk about it, but at the end of the day, you might have to just agree to disagree. And that's true. I mean, as nice as their principal is, that's the principal. If she says this is how it is, then probably probably don't have a choice, like she said. Um, Finally, I asked her some personal questions. I asked her what she enjoys most about teaching, and she said every day is different, and that it's nice. She really likes that. And I asked her if she's heard students complaining constantly about another teacher, and what would she do? And I really like this response. She said, I'd tell them to stop, and that the teacher probably doesn't like them either. And then she mentioned I don't think that's necessary. So, but I like it. I like it. There's so many things that these teachers at this school they have just there. It's humorous. Just the teacher probably doesn't like you either. And then I closed up with, what are your plans for continuing your professional growth? And she plans to take some more classes, maybe to get another master's in something else. Right now, she has hers in education, of course, and she's thinking about teaching, move towards teaching at a part-time at a college. She's interested in that. And I asked her what she'd teach. She probably said education, unless she did get that master's in something else, and that might be in English or literature, something like that, given that's her background and her background's in communications. So I thought that this teacher was pretty much on what I thought she was. I didn't know that she had a master's, and I didn't realize she had literally only been teaching 2 years. I could sort of tell when I was in the classroom that maybe she was a new teacher, so she has the potential, I would definitely say, because she's fun, and I think her students really like her. But I would definitely say she does fall into the category of a rookie. But not a bad thing. So if you're watching this, I promise rookie is not a bad thing. You're just fresh, just like me. I would be a super rookie. And I really enjoyed interviewing her. Like I said, having substituted in her class and then gone back and interviewed her and learned all this about, her teaching styles and everything. I think that definitely gives me a really good perspective on things. Um, and subbing for that class actually is one of the reasons why I was like, maybe I don't want to teach the younger kids. Maybe these kids that can actually, communicate and do stuff when I tell them to. It wouldn't be too bad. So, um, Mrs. Mrs. Walker's sixth grade class, I guess. Thank you for opening my eyes to the possibility of older grades. But you guys were rotten. And but the teacher's nice. She's a really nice person, and I think that she definitely has the potential of moving on. She is not going to be a check collector by any means. I think she feels strongly about what she does and definitely wants to improve herself as an educator.